Kim, are you ready to rock this?
I'm totally ready to rock this.
She's ready. Awesome, awesome. Well, you are now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for coming on today to join us, Kim. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Yes, awesome. So we're going to dive right into the theme of the day, which is the art of being. So Kim, how do you relate to the art of being? What does that mean to you?
It really is about presence, but it's also about not doing as much, but being essentially to me is like a state of just being aware of your surroundings and being present in the moment. I think we're so busy doing things so many different times, like we're always keeping ourselves busy. And this is the idea of this art of being, because it is an art. It takes practice, right?
Totally. Totally. Yeah, it's like when I think of art, I think of a skill, right? And there's a certain skill to being, and there's a certain flexibility, a range to being. You could be happy, you could be sad, you can be creative, you can be playful, you can be disciplined. And it's like each being has its own use at certain times and its own function. And just like yin and yang, there's a dynamic, a spectrum, a range that there's always an appropriate way to express whatever that way of being is. So I love how we're already diving in deep to this, and this is going to be an amazing, amazing conversation. So why don't you share with our audience a little bit more about what you do today, what you're working on, and just a little bit more about your life.
Sure. So I do a number of different things. I like to say I have a lot of tools in my toolbox.
Love it.
And one of those is Feng Shui, of course. That's something that we're going to dive into a little bit more today, which is really all about creating an environment that energetically supports us and the things that we want to be, do, and have in our lives. So it's really like, I like to say, speeds up the law of attraction for us, which is always a fun thing to do. And then I also have the super strong connection with the angels, and particularly the archangels, and they tend to just be essentially hanging around me all the time. So they're here with us now. They're always hanging around and always bringing their little brand of magic to everything. And really just for me, it's like a constant conversation. So they're constantly talking to me and sharing just, especially when I'm working with a client, giving insights about what's happening in their lives and how they can get more clearly on their path or purpose. And then I do some private coaching as well. I've been self-employed since 2005, so I have a lot of experience with being self-employed in a couple different businesses and have really done a lot of training with a lot of different people. And so I love to be able to save people that time and that money by being able to help them fast track, which is similar to what you do. It's a great, I think everybody needs to have a coach, honestly. Like, it's just super important.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. So you're helping people in a lot of different ways with Feng Shui, with the angel cards, and lots of other techniques and tools, like you said, that you've picked up along the journey. So why don't you take us back a little bit to that growing process and how we got to where we are today? What was it that started you on the journey of self-employment, and what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome developing your skill sets to be where we are today?
Yeah, I had such a great question. It feels like it's been such a long journey in some respects. I used to work in insurance claims. I did that for about 17 years. Wow. And really towards the end of my career there, before I hit the leap to be self-employed, I was handling like some of the worst possible claims you can imagine. Physical, sexual abuse. Wow. If a child drowned or was burned, that was my claim. They would give it to me. Lots of just, death claims, all kinds of different accidents, but, just in general, not a super positive environment. And for me as an empath, it just got to the point where every day I would go to work and I'd have a headache. And I just was like, I cannot, physically, this is going to kill me. I can't do it anymore. And so at the same time, I'd also discovered making jewelry, which was one of my prior businesses. And so I made the leap, and I had been part-time for a little while. So I'd been building this business on the side before I took the leap and quit. And so I did that jewelry business for about 10 years, a lot of learning with that whole aspect of things. But I really wasn't, I was doing kind of like I would would draw cards and things like that for myself. And I was actually doing Feng Shui in my home because we had moved at some point in this period prior to, I guess that was probably about 1998 we moved. And the things were not going well in the new house. Like we built this new house and we had money coming in, but it was going right out the back door. And I was like looking for something and stumbled upon a book on Feng Shui at the library. And started making some adjustments, and dang, if that didn't work. Like it really shifted things. I will say a little caveat, like I had done some stuff around the part. We were actually missing a big chunk of our partnership corner, and I had, because at that time I wasn't classically trained in Feng Shui, I had done an adjustment outside and then sort of forgot about it, got moved and never, long story short, I ended up that relationship dissolved.
Wow.
So it's interesting. There is, definitely obviously other things that come into play, but Feng Shui and your environment does impact what's happening in your life.
Right.
So yeah. And then the angel thing, that's a whole, like how I kind of re-embrace that. That's a whole nother little story.
That's awesome. Well, we'll definitely have to hear it sometime because I'm sure it's magical, and we want to stay on Feng Shui and get all the juiciness out of that in this episode. And again, we'd love to have you back on again because I know you're a person of many talents and many depths. So let's dive into the Feng Shui and really how did that business take off? How did that grow, and how did you decide that that's going to be something that you really focus on?
Yeah, so it's one of those things like when you're ready, then the information is there. So I actually went to like a little local class on Feng Shui. It was something I'd been studying it for probably 10, 15 years before that, and my own, like just reading lots of books and doing things. And then I went to this class and found out, lo and behold, there's a certification right in the Twin Cities. And I just got chills. I was like, I knew exactly that was what I was meant to do as soon as that came up. And so, yeah, I ended up going through the certification. It was about 99 hours of training. So lots of time, about 10 months it took to go through that program and got certified. And honestly, it's like I get giddy when I get a floor plan of somebody's, like whether it's a business office or somebody's home. It's like super exciting to me to see like the little puzzle of it, like what is going on and how can we help shift it.
Beautiful. So that's awesome. Why don't we start diving into, if you want to share some of the other examples of what you've done for others, just so we can get an idea of what really happens when we get this right, when we get the Feng Shui of our space and our environment right. What happens?
Yeah, so I'm going to use business examples today since we're going to be talking about business Feng Shui. So I had a client who owned a fitness studio type of thing, but she would rent out rooms to other healing practitioners, and things were not going well. When she contacted me, she was in a long-term lease at this place and honestly was like, I have no idea how I'm going to get through the next 4 years without filing bankruptcy. Like she just was like kind of at the edge of her rope. She had a client that had been renting 3 rooms that I believe they went out of business. And so she had these 3 rooms that were empty for at least 2 months before I connected with her. We met, I went to her space, and now I do a lot of this remotely, so I can do it either way. And we went through her space and I made some very simple suggestions for changes for her to make. And literally, I met with her on a Thursday. By Saturday, she had a contract signed for one of the rooms. Wow. Within a month, she had 7 new clients of her own in her own fitness business, and just developed more of a community. That was what she really wanted. She wanted the practitioners to connect and to cross-refer and all of that. And she was really able to create that and also become in command of the space. So her office, one of the little things was her office was towards the front of the space. And I encouraged her to move it and move her office to the very back of the space, because that is what we call the command position of the space. Wow. And that allowed her to be more in charge of the business too. So she didn't have other people sort of trying to tell her how to run it. Right. She was really taking the reins of it as well.
Wow. That's amazing. So the command position is in the back because it's like protected, it's away from, like the front lines, so to speak. Like,
right. Yeah. And if you think about the preparedness factor of that, like the farther that you are away from the front door, the more opportunity you would have if, for some reason someone would break in or come in, right? You have the most opportunity to see them and be prepared.
Wow. Huh. That's incredible. So that was one thing you changed. Anything else that made a big difference, you think?
Yeah, we actually did some things around. She had a reception desk type of area. We did some moving around of those type of things. We added her logo as you first come in because it's really about like, they need to see it on the outside of the door for sure. But when they come in, they want to be sort of comforted and assured that they're in the right place. So having the logo like right behind reception or right when you first come into the space is really important. We never want to put a logo on the floor. Lots of companies you'll see, they'll have their rug. Don't do that. You're going to be walked all over.
Wow. I'm writing that one down. That's a good one. Okay.
Right.
So that's one example. Do you have any other awesome examples for us?
I do. I had a plumbing company that I worked with, and the reason they contacted me is their employees were really getting burned out. So they just, the company grew very, very fast, super successful, grew very, very fast. And they just weren't able to keep up with getting enough qualified people to do the work was one of the things. But when I came into their space, one of their logo colors happened to be red. And red in Feng Shui represents fire energy, which we need fire because that's about passion and action. But too much fire can lead to burnout. So they had red everywhere. Like they had red on the carpets, they had red on the walls, the trucks were red. There was so much red in there. I'm like, oh my goodness, we need, we need to balance these elements in the space. The other thing that was happening for them is their online reputation was suffering. And they were just having some trouble with actually people that were not even customers that were going on and giving them bad reviews. And they're like, you were not even our customer, right? So what I discovered when I was looking at their space is that they were actually missing a piece of their fame area. So we have like different areas of the space correlate to areas of your life and your business, and they were actually missing a piece of the fame area. We did an adjustment for that and things calmed down. Their online reputation went well. And what happened actually is just before I was there, their head guy, the head manager left. He's like, I'm done. I'm out of here. And after we did the adjustments, he called them up and said, I want to come back.
Wow.
So it was amazing, just to have that rebalancing. He felt the shift in the energy, even not even being in the space, and wanted to come back.
Wow, that's amazing. Speaking of the areas, the different areas, is there like a list of different areas that we need to know about in our own space or business?
Yeah. So for those of you that are going to be able to see this, I'll show a little bagua, what we call a mental map of the space. And for those that are listening on the podcast, I have a free download of this on my website that you can get, findingyourfiji.com. But here's the bagua essentially, and it's all the different areas. You're probably not going to see it real clearly here, but all the different areas represent different areas of your home. The health being the very center. Wealth corner is always the back left corner. Partnership is always going to be the back right of the space. And this is based on the front door. So this is all going to be based on the front door. So just kind of give you a general idea, but every area of your life correlates to an area in your home or your office. And so it's kind of a fun party trick. I can go into somebody's space, not even know them, and tell them what's going on in their life.
Wow. That's awesome. So you mentioned there's the different spaces. Which ones are typically the most, I guess, out of whack or untaken care of that people neglect?
Yeah, so it's always interesting when people discover where these different areas are, particularly the wealth corner. If they're having any issues with finances, or they're having, like I mentioned, money coming in, but it's going right out the back door, then that will be an area that we often will look at, and they'll just sort of notice like, oh my gosh, I'm keeping my garbage can here. Like if it's a garage, in their home, oftentimes they have like it's a junk corner or something like that. Wow. And so they really, I think part of what Feng Feng Shui does too is helps you see your space in a different light. So you're actually seeing like, oh, like I had a client that in her bedroom, she had a picture of a single woman. She was looking for a partner. Well, that wasn't going to happen with a single woman hanging on the wall, right? Because that's the message that she's sending out to the universe.
So funny you say this, because I was at my friend's house, and he has like the statue of a woman in his bathroom, right? He's like you're peeing if you're a man, and you see in front of you there's a statue of a woman, and her back is to you, right? Like, so I'm looking at her back, and her hand is like right there, kind of like covering her lower back, but it's her back. And I was like, dude, like, that means you're like repelling her, right? She's not facing you. She's not attracting you. You're pushing her away. And he's like, no, it's beautiful art. Like, what are you talking about? I was like,
yeah. And there's two little things around that, because I've had people where they come into my space and they're like, what's the Feng Shui meaning of this? And I'm like, there isn't one. I just like it. So you can have things that you just really like, but it's also about like thinking about that meaning, because if her back is to him, then it is, that sense of like turning away. If you can turn that around, that would maybe be better. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely food for thought.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like our subconscious mind is constantly reacting, constantly, looking for things, making judgments, assessments, patterns. And so something like that is like just programming us for more and more.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Cool. So, anything else that we need to know about Feng Shui, like as a definition, as a practice, general guidelines? Because we kind of just jumped right into what does it mean in the workplace. But, for everyone who doesn't really know too much about it, why don't we fill them in on just a little bit more of the philosophy, maybe a little bit of history about it, whatever you feel like we should definitely know as business owners, entrepreneurs, and high achievers.
Yes. Thank you for circling around about that, because that is important. There are probably still a lot of people that have not heard of Feng Shui. And what it literally means is wind and water. So it's really about balance, and it's about creating that environment, as I mentioned, that is energetically supporting you. So it is about that harmony. It takes a lot from nature. So we see in nature, there's always a balance of colors, of textures, of, heights of things, right? And different shapes of things in the environment, in the natural environment. And so it really draws from that. It's really thousands of years old. It's very, very, very old. And it actually originated from when they would bury the elders, and they thought that it was important to bury them in an auspicious or a lucky way. And then they started applying it to the homes as well, and found that it brought them luck in their homes as well. So there's actually two different types of Feng Shui. There is the traditional, what we call sort of the classical Feng Shui, and that is based on the compass directions. It's a little bit more challenging to apply that in the in the Western world, especially where we have we have cul-de-sacs and we have condos and all those different things. It's a little bit more difficult to apply that. The other version of Feng Shui is the what we call the Western version of Feng Shui, and that is mainly what I practice. I do have some training in the classical version as well, but I find that the Western version is less confusing, and that is always based on the front door rather than the direction in the space. So it's a little bit different that way. And it's really, a couple of the important things to remember about Feng Shui too is that we have to kind of start with a clear space. So we don't want to be making adjustments in a space that, energetically isn't clear, because our environments, our homes, our offices collect stuck energy just like they do dust and dirt. So it's important to be clearing them energetically on a regular basis.
So does that mean it's optimal to take everything out of a room and then like put it back in? Or
no, that's great. I'm glad you said that though, because I'm so it's so in my DNA about all of this. So great perspective. No, actually what it means is using like sage or Palo Santo or something like that to essentially clear. And I have just a little I use these little incense sticks for quick clearings. They're just like little tiny incense sticks. So I'll use those. I'll actually burn those when I'm doing readings and things like that. And I'll clear my body with those. Wow. But I prefer to use like a sage bundle in order to clear the space. And there's, if anybody wants those instructions, they can just reach out to me and I'll email them to them. Okay. But there's a specific words that I tend to use and a specific way that we go through the space to energetically clear it so that it's just our energy there. Because people, when they come into a space, tend to leave their energetic footprint and they don't pick it up and take it with them when they go. Also, if there's been any arguments in the space, or I was just talking to a client this morning, her mom actually passed away in the space and she has the ashes there. There's lots of different things that can be, just impacting the environment and the people that live there.
Wow. So you mentioned there's two types. One was the classical, which is more of the compass directions, and then the other one is the Western, which is based on the front door. And we talked a little bit earlier about having a physical business location. How does it vary for, we have a lot of home-based entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. How does the energy and ability to use Feng Shui, does it differ that much? Or is it the same for a home versus like a business space? What's the difference?
There is a little bit of a difference as to the meaning of the different spaces. When we have like a business office, the correlation to the spaces can be a little bit different, where like family, for example, the family area in a business would be more about the family of employees, whereas in our family, it's about our family of origin. So in our physical home. So there's some differences that way, but pretty much things correlate very closely. And I work with a lot of entrepreneurs that work out of their homes. I work out of my home. Right. And so it's definitely something that we look at. And I actually have a couple blogs about working from home, because there can be kind of a fine line where we don't have a good separation for us between them. So I've written a couple blogs about that whole aspect of things as well. And then of course, setting up your office, whether it's at home or in an actual physical business space, is something that is super important to set yourself up for success.
Right. What are some of the things that we need to know about setting up the office for success, or what mistakes do you see people making?
So one biggie is the type of chair. So you'll notice, and you've got a high back chair too. The high back chairs are awesome because it's about support and it's about being the executive in your business. I can't tell you how many people I see sitting on like these little, wimpy chairs, or even Bosu balls. I'm like, you're never going to see an executive in an office sitting on a Bosu ball. It's just not happening, right? So whether you're working from home or you're working in a big exec office, you need to have that support. And we want to have a chair with arms. We want to be able to lean back so that we can, contemplate, make decisions. So that's something that is really important, is having this high back chair.
Have you, what are your thoughts on a walking treadmill for a business space?
I don't mind it for if it's just, an option, but I don't like that as a permanent. So it's, there's just some connotations around that. I get the idea, multitasking and all of that. But it's also that, then you're always going to be on the move. You're not going to have that time to settle and to contemplate. You really need somewhere that you can sit and think about your business also.
Wow, that's interesting. And in terms of the financial aspect, because I know a lot of our entrepreneurial audience is like, how do we make more money? Is there any of the top, is there top 3 things that people are messing up or need to know about the Feng Shui of money that we can give them?
Sure. So one of the things that's really important, whether you have a home-based business or you have an actual office, is the front door, because that is where all the energy comes into the space. So what I see lots of times is, maybe the front door isn't very visible. People aren't able to easily find the place. Sometimes we have a door that's alongside a building. So it's not even at the very front of the building where the address is.
Wow.
And so we really want to do whatever we can to attract energy to that space. I love to add something with movement there because, again, the movement attracts energy and attracts opportunities to us. It also helps attract clients. So like a wind chime would be a great thing to add, or a flag, or even if you're not able to put anything outside, even like a little brass bell, something like this little bell to hang on the door.
Right.
You'll see that a lot in Chinese restaurants where they have a little bell on the door.
Yeah.
And it's really energetically bringing in more business to them, right?
Wow.
It's ringing in business. So those are a couple things with the front door. The other thing that I see with clients around the money aspect of things and sort of being in charge of the business too is where their desk is placed. Is oftentimes they have their back to the door, or they have they're facing a window because they like the view, which then their thoughts can go right out the window type of thing. So we like to talk about the command position for desks as well.
So the command position would be facing straight towards the door.
Facing the door, and not in the doorway. So for those of the people that are actually watching on the video, I have a little, let's see if this is going to work. I guess I can put it back here.
Yep.
So so this is just showing kind of command position. So you kind of see where the door is in these spaces and how the desks are not in line with the door, but they are facing the door. So there's different options that you can do there. And that essentially puts you in charge, right?
Wow, that's incredible. Huh. What other diagrams do you have? You keep pulling out all this awesome stuff.
I know, right?
What do you got over there, Kim? Tell us more.
Well, I actually have the other side of that is the challenging for the challenging location. So this is, I'll just kind of slide that over if I can do that without falling off. So this is more of the challenging location. So you'll see here in this middle one, they've got they're vulnerable to the door. So they can't actually see who's coming in. And so in this case, sometimes this is the only setup. This is the only way you can do it. I would actually place a mirror like on this wall here so that they could see who is coming in the door. So that's going to allow them to see what's coming at them and to be more prepared in their business. I feel like I'm playing peekaboo here with this. And then the other couple, this one, they are right in front of the door. And this is what we call a gatekeeper position. So that same plumbing company, the owner had this same setup. This is how his office was set up. He had like kind of credenza type of thing behind him, but his desk was right in the doorway. And what happens with that gatekeeper is you end up having to handle a lot of things that you shouldn't have to handle. So it's kind of like being the secretary in a business when that's not your job, right? So that is what we did in his circumstances. Because there wasn't any way to rearrange his office, I just had him hang a crystal, a small round crystal, and I don't know if I might have one. I have a little crystal. So I can show you what that is. So this is just a 20 millimeter round crystal. It's got a little hole on the top so it can be hung. It's 30% lead. It's got facets on it. All of those things help balance. And we basically just had him hang that crystal between the door and his desk. And that essentially disperses that energy that's kind of really coming at him. Also helps calm things down. And similarly, this one up here, they're in the doorway. Which is, never good because it's too much energy coming at you. They just you just are probably going to feel overwhelmed, probably going to feel stressed, probably going to feel like you can't catch your breath kind of energy. And so again, if you can't move the desk, then again, you could hang a crystal, one of those little small crystals between the desk and the door.
Wow. Amazing. That is incredible. Oh my gosh.
Right?
So
who knew?
I know, who knew? What are some other techniques that you've seen really make a difference for yourself or your clients?
Yeah, so I have to call out the elephant in the room, clutter. So clutter is not a feng shui's friend. It really, it's a heavy energy, number one. It actually causes you to lose your focus and your vision for your business, and particularly if you have things laying on horizontal surfaces. So if you've got your desk like just covered with stuff, that is really going to cause you trouble and make it difficult to focus and have a vision for your business. So some people are like, oh, I don't really have time to clean this up. Well, you don't really have time not to, because it's wasting your time and energy when you've got the clutter there. And, it's just something you got to do every once in a while, right?
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. What would you say is still an area that you're learning about feng shui? Like, what's something that you learned recently? Because I would figure after, a certain number of years, you have most of it pretty much down.
Actually, you would think that, but there's so much to it. I belong to, as I mentioned in my bio, the International Feng Shui Guild, which is a group of just so amazing practitioners. There's a few students in there, but mainly practitioners, and all different schools of feng shui. So I mentioned the two main schools, but there's also several other types of feng shui as well. And so I'm constantly learning, and even in my own type of training, there's just probably just thousands of adjustments that can be made and different things. So I'm always learning from other practitioners as well. And, just little tweaks or little things that, other people try, or lots of our practitioners, we incorporate multiple modalities. So I incorporate the angel stuff. I was just chatting with, I'm going to be launching a podcast probably by the end of the summer. And I know, right? Yes. And I was talking with a gal who's going to be one of my guests, and she and I both have this really strong connection with angels and use it in our feng shui businesses. Wow. So we're going to be chatting about, how do you use angels in feng shui, and how do they correlate? Like which angels go in which area of the home? Wow. Type of thing.
Wow. That's incredible. What do you see? Like, how do you see yourself evolving the feng shui industry moving forward? How do you see yourself, really making your mark and building a reputation and continuing to evolve it moving forward?
Yeah, so I really am, my idea or my thought is I'd love to see feng shui be more mainstream, and where people just are automatically thinking about that when they're buying a new home, when they're looking for a new space, when they're evaluating their current space, to really be feeling that, because it is actually 1/3 of our luck. Our environment is 1/3 of our luck. Wow. One other third of our luck is what we call heaven luck, which I read as like when you were born, astrology, that type of thing. But I also read it as our connection with our source, our God, spirit, whatever that is for you. So that's sort of our second type of luck. And then our third type of luck is our human luck, and that's the actions that we physically take. So when you think about, our environment being 1/3 of what we create in our lives, it's pretty dang important.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm in the process of writing a book, Minnesota to Maui, that's going to incorporate the feng shui aspects of things and things that I did when I made the move, along with the angel guidance and the other, sort of practical things that I did as well to make a shift easily.
Beautiful. And when you're helping people be more aware and remember about the feng shui in their choices, what do you think that will do for them and for us as a planet?
It's really, what I see is bringing more of a loving energy, because a lot of what I talk to my clients about, I just worked with a client last week who was having some difficulty with people in her business. And we talked about, there's certain things, we have a helpful people area in our feng shui bagua. And we talked about, setting good intentions. So really sending those people love and bringing those good intentions to those people, wishing them the highest, the best. And I think the more we get people doing that and creating environments that are beautiful and feel good, it really impacts everybody.
So it's kind of like the collective energy, the collective mindset. If people are happier, then people are happier.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The more love there is, the more love there is.
That's right. That's right. Okay, cool. So in terms of the fastest way that our audience can start really transforming their space, did we mention what the best way to do that is, to take action to assess their space? And if so, can we recount that and share that again? Or is there something that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I definitely recommend, taking a walk through your space and just noticing, number one, like different things that you're tolerating, things that might be broken, things that are, just again, the clutter, that type of thing. So you can essentially just go through your space and write a tolerations list of things that just, are bothering you, that you want to change, that are, don't feel good just on the surface. And then every week, take care of a couple of things. Might be even things that need to be returned to the store, or again, like a window that needs to be repaired or something like that that you keep putting off. All of that has a correlation. But I also have a free gift that I offer that gives like my 9 best tips for attracting abundance. So that is something that people can grab, and it will give them basically 9 steps to get started with Feng Shui. Wow.
I have a question for you. I know someone who has a water filter that's like plugged up, and they used to, like, water is life. They really love water, and would that mean if it's like really slow trickling, would that relate to another area of life for them? Would that be like some kind of Feng Shui message? Could it be?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. We look a lot at metaphors in Feng Shui. So whenever something is not working or clogged up or leaking or, anything like that, we always look at the correlation to that. So if something is clogged up, it's kind of like, what else is blocked up in your life? Just similarly to, like, if you get a flat tire, is it the front tire? Is it the back tire? Front tire is something you're not moving forward on. Back tire is something you're not letting go of in the past. If you have a leak, where is the leak in your life? Where is your energy being, drained? And to really look at those types of things, and just in a different way, and sort of in a contemplating way.
Wow. Why do you think life gives us metaphors so that we can heal these other areas of life?
Honestly, we need all the help we can get. Our body gives us messages, our environments give us messages. Like, they're just trying to get through to us however that they can. So there's always, I believe, a correlation between what's happening in your physical environment and in your body and what's happening in your life. There are always messages for us.
So do you think that fixing the message will fix the thing in life?
Often.
Often.
Yes. Often when you fix that leaky pipe, then the money stops draining from your bank account. Or you, it definitely, they do have an impact on each other.
That's incredible. How do we be more conscious and aware to the messages?
That is a great question. I think presence is the biggest key. So kind of coming back into the art of being is really about being aware of your environment, paying attention. So this happened to me the other day. I actually got a message and I sort of ignored the one message, and then it came again. So, which is what happens. I was up in Hana, this beautiful drive up to Hana, and I needed a day to chill. And my guides are like, go to Hana. I'm like, okay. So I went and I saw a horse in a place that I don't normally I'd never seen a horse in that area before. So I just was like, oh, it's super cool, seeing this horse, but I did not get the message. Like, I didn't go look up horse, the message of horse. Then just on Saturday night, again, I parked at this go see comedy or whatever, and literally was opening the hatch in my back, and this horse was like practically right in my face, like leaning over the fence, and I'm like, again, never have seen a horse in that area at all before, and here's this horse, and I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm gonna go look that up, right? And look up the meaning to that.
Wow. What was the meaning?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I probably need to read it again. Horse. It's interesting because that horse energy is, it has to do with self-expression and things like that. But there's lots of little meanings around it too. So yeah, I probably should go read that again.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. How do you feel that vegetation and plant life plays into Feng Shui?
Oh, super important. It's super important. It really, plants are life and it's living energy. And so having plants in your space really can improve, just even putting a plant on your desk or in your office really can improve things. I would encourage you, though, to get plants that grow up. Especially if you put them in your wealth corner in your office, because you want your income to be going up, not down. And I don't love cactuses for that reason, because it's prickly and it may cause just disagreements and things in relationships. So you have that sort of prickly energy. If you have cactuses, I usually try to put those in the fame area because that's more, fire energy, that type of thing. But yeah, plants are awesome. And it really, you can use silk plants. So if you don't grow plants well, you can use silk plants as long as they look pretty real and you keep them clean and all of that. You can use that essence as balance. And that's actually one of the elements is that, that earth energy is one of the elements that we use a lot in Feng Shui. And actually there's 5 different elements. The earth energy is more of like the actual ceramics, that type of thing. The plant energy is more of the wood energy. So when you think of things growing, that's that wood energy, and it's very entrepreneurial. So plants are very much that entrepreneurial energy.
So you mentioned that there's multiple elements. Can you give us a brief overview of those and kind of what we would relate that to in our environment and how to supercharge or just things to look out for? Because that's probably huge.
Yes. Oh yeah, it definitely is. And that's a core principle of Feng Shui is the balance and the balance of the elements in all the spaces. So the first element is a fire. And that is something that I mentioned before that is about passion. It's about action. It also represents our fame, how we show up in the world, and that can be represented by the color red, of course. Anything that is fire, so candles, fireplaces, anything like that. It also can be represented by just the triangular shape, which is sort of that shape of fire, and things that are bright or vibrant. So animal prints or vibrant artwork can represent that fire energy. And that's a really good thing to have, in every space, because it, again, brings up that life force energy. And so if people are feeling lethargic or they just don't seem to be motivated, that's one thing I definitely look at to see, are they lacking fire in their space energetically? So that's one. Then we have the wood, which is that entrepreneurial energy. That's plants. It can be things that are just tall and skinny. So if you think of that tree shape, right? Or columnar shape is the other thing. Anything that's green is also that plant energy or that wood energy, and it can be, of course, physical plants as well. And then we have the earth energy, which is more that grounded energy. So it is, if people are having trouble focusing, that type of thing, we like to have that grounded energy. Or if they live in a high rise, I've done some Feng Shui for people that live in high rises. It's difficult, when they have all windows around all the sides, and just they need that grounded energy. So the rocks and ceramics and that type of thing are that earth energy. And then we have the water. Actually, we'll say the metal next, because metal comes from the earth. So the metal energy is is really more of our focus too. And it can be things that are physically metal, things that are round or have an arc to them, or things that are white. And those, again, if you're looking for, I actually purposely chose a white desk because I'm I need help focusing, right? And so the white of the desk helps me focus. And that's something that you can use in your space. Having white space just in general is good because
purity, clearness, space.
Yes, clarity. Yeah. So metal is about clarity for sure. And it's also about details and about, organization, all of those type of things. So that's really helpful. And then then the water energy is things, of course, that are actually physical water, like water fountains, fish tanks, that type of thing. It can also be other things that represent water, like a fish or a little sailboat or a shell, or like a picture like this with water in it.
So beautiful.
That type of thing can be water, or undulating shapes that are, kind of that flowing shape. So if you have like a flowing curtain, that can be representative of water in the space.
Oh, cool. And then when you have all 5 of these elements in a room, like what happens?
It's you're going to feel better. It just feels more balanced, and you feel more settled. So what might happen is, like, if you have a space that's all white, like you get some of these, Art Deco spaces, and they do it all white. People are not going to feel super comfortable there. Like, they're not going to feel like they can relax necessarily, because they're going to feel like they need to be focusing on something or need to be doing something, right? So having that balance of all of the elements just helps you feel at ease.
Man, I love this. So if we get this feng shui right, do we have to spend a lot of time learning about this? Do we have to become a master like you, or what do we need to know to really be equipped to have the energy work with us and for us?
No, you definitely don't need to be a master to use it. And it's actually, a lot of people think it's like you have to move everything around in your space. You don't. It's very small changes. And a lot of times they're hidden, like we might even do hide a mirror behind something and only it's there. It's really the intention is the most important thing. So why you're doing it, it's not just like, okay, I'm going to hang this bell on my door to my office, but why are you doing it? What's the intention behind it? So it's really putting the intention, that visualization behind it, that's going to help work. And I've had clients where they've worked with another feng shui practitioner, and the other practitioner made a recommendation that I would not have recommended, but it worked for them. Because the intention was very strong, and they were doing it with intention. And so I never, I'm like, oh, that's awesome, right? Like, I'm not going to say anything like, oh, I would never do that.
Great energy about it. It's like,
it's
cool.
Yeah, it's working for you. And that's the other thing. Like, don't fix it if it's not broken. So if there's areas of your life that are going well, let them be. They're going well. Let's not muck that up.
Right. We have Denise in the audience who said, Pethia said she's throwing her cactus away today.
Oh, no, you don't have to. If you love it.
And then Paula Brown is coming on. She said, agree, Kim, more joy with the intent with flowing energy in all spaces. Lily said hi. And then Denise said, like a doctor's office when it's all white, it makes people more nervous because it's like all details and really clean and
exactly.
And then she said that's why people started to use warmer colors and pictures to make people feel at ease in the office.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the same thing like the dentist's office now. Lots of times you'll see a nice calm picture above you that you're actually looking at, and they have music because there's different you can add the element of music and other things too to help with feng shui.
Beautiful. Well, Kim, I mean, we're beginning to wrap up here. Is there anything that I didn't ask you or that you really wanted to share about when you thought about coming on this interview and sharing with these entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, influencers that you felt like would make a difference?
Just one little adjustment that I want to share for businesses to help attract more clients, because that's something that I think people are always wanting. And it's what I call a Hansel and Gretel adjustment. So essentially what you need is some bird seed, and it needs to be non-sprouting bird seed. Or typically that's what you'd want. You don't really want it sprouting. And essentially what you'll do is you'll sprinkle that bird seed from your front door to the street and back again. So if you have a business office, you can do it from the front door of your business office to the street and back again, visualizing the clients that you want to draw in. This is also really helpful if people get lost often when they come to your space, because it's energetically leading them to you. I had a client that she had a massage therapy business, and just the location was kind of a goofy location behind some other buildings, and people were always getting lost. She did this adjustment and people stopped getting lost. They were able to find her. And I have one client that whenever things get slow, she'll do this, and literally she'll have like five people book appointments that week.
Wow.
So it's something that you can do over and over again. Be careful. Don't do it right before you're going to go on vacation. That might be a mistake, right? But yeah, super powerful, super powerful.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, Kim, this has been awesome. How do people take the next steps and really master their feng shui? How do they stay connected with you? And what do we want them to do next?
Yeah, so they can go and grab my free gift. It's my 9 fast feng shui fixes to attract abundance. And that is available on my website, or I believe we'll probably also have the links for the podcast. And if they're interested in having me do their office or their home or want a consultation, I obviously offer those type of things as well. And I do offer free 30-minute chat, 20 to 30-minute chat, so that people can, because a lot of times people are like, I don't really know what I need because I have different packages for different things. So they're welcome to hop on a free chat with me. Virtual coffee chat is what I call that. And we can see what's going on. And I'll typically give them a couple ideas to get them, get things kind of rolling in the right direction.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Kim, you are a superstar. I love your wealth of knowledge around feng shui. I'm excited to see you keep mastering it and integrate the angel aspect as well, because that's going to be a whole unique positioning around feng shui and how people can transform their energy and the results in their life. That's really exciting.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate you, and I hope you have the best day ever, okay?
Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a joy.
Awesome, Kim. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.